Good afternoon. We're going to go over this week's watch list for the week of November 30th. Now, tomorrow is the last day of November for the month, and December 1st is Tuesday, so we got one more month and the year is over. So, with that said, I am going to start with SPY. Now, I have SPY on the bearish side. I know. I'll show you in a second. Right here, you get an ascending triangle, which is usually bullish, and it probably will be. We'll probably gap up, and we'll probably end up selling off. But this is what I'm looking at. Yes, it has a bullish pattern, and like I said, it'll probably gap up. But I think that the upside is very limited. It's possible that we could see SPY at 370 before it actually does something, but the thing I'm really looking at is VIX. Now, let me bring out the VIX weekly, I think. Now, this is what I'm looking at. VIX went under 20 for the first time on Friday, and I'm looking if it can get down to fill this gap right around to the 17, 18 area. I think that we could end up seeing a big pop. So every time it gets a little lower, like look right here, it was at like 24 and it went down to like 20, and we've been staying above 20. And Friday was the first time it broke under 20, but it closed above it, I believe. Yeah, it did close at 2084, but it did make it to 1951. So if it does fill that weekly gap on VIX and around $17, that I would definitely be concerned. And also, if you look at, let me just bring up another window here. Let's see. Typing in okay, I'll bring this over if I can. Now this stupid thing, the CPCE is the equity put and call ratio, which I look at a lot. Now it is down here in the below, right around the 40 area, 0.40 area. So when it does, why is this stupid thing not working? Okay, well, whatever. Whenever it gets down in this area, it ends up having a big dump. So, and of course there's an error. So you get this. There we go. Stupid thing. I won't even use that inspect. But anyways, every time it gets down in this below the 0.40 area, there ends up being a quick dump. So whenever there is like too many calls, too many people in one direction, that's when they end up pulling the rug and changing it on you. So I think that even if there's a big gap up tonight and tomorrow, that we probably will likely sell off this week. I could be wrong, but I usually look at this a lot, especially when we have exaggerated moves like we do. So like right here, you can see like on the 9th, where were we on the 9th? Let me get back to SPY. The daily, let's get to the daily. See, the 9th is probably right here. No, this is the 9th. Yeah, right there. See the 9th, how we had a big gap up, then it dropped. That's where are you? Yeah, that's where it was, right there. We had that big gap up and it dropped. And this is around the, I don't know, let's see, the 10th, October 10th. Yeah, right here. See, that is right where this is, right in here. The 10th is right there. 10th to 12th, right in this area. Then you have around the 25th or 6th of August. 25th or 6th of August, which is right about right here. I mean, it's not always, perfect, but you catch the drift. So like June 8th is right about here. See right here, bottomed out right down here. That everybody was in calls, extreme greed, or whatever. Too many people in one direction. They just pulled the rug. So happened here, 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 and here. So I'm expecting that the same thing could possibly happen this week on SPY. So keep an eye on the VIX. If VIX gets below 18 or 17, then I would probably get into some puts and stuff like that for SPY. So since we're on the bearish side, we'll keep going on the bearish side. I have Roku on there. Now Roku is just, it's consolidating in this 280 range, and I like to use this RCT trend line on the daily. It's pointing up, and every time it gets away from it, it likes to come back and retest it like it did here. So, and it did here. So I was expecting it to do it here on last week, but it didn't. But I think it will this time. So I would watch it underneath the 270 for a push to 260, even the 255 area, 250. Then the trend line at this point in time is at 245. So I mean, it could come down to 245. So I would definitely keep an eye on that. Now BA the same thing. Now I know that BA has had a good run, and it's got a little bit of a ascending triangle right here. So I mean, it could break out, but BA, I mean, I just think that the move is going to come back. It's going to let some air out. So I would definitely keep an eye on it for the short side, but it could also keep going. But I'm definitely looking at it on it. If it does get weak and the market does sell off this week, I think that this could be a good move on the downside. So under 213 for 210 to 200. Now 200 will be a big level for it to break, because right here it touched it and it popped back up. But if the market's really weak, you definitely see another run to the 190s to 180s, and there's a little bit of a gap right here in the 177 area. So this gap support right here at 176. I don't imagine it will break that, but you know, anything can happen. This is the same thing. The RCT trend line is pointing slightly down to somewhat flat, and when it gets exaggerated away, it likes to pull back and come back to it, on vice versa. You know, probably goes down too low, comes up. So I would definitely watch BA for a short on that one. So also have Triple M, and I would like to point out on BA, let me go back to BA. BA's got like it's got a bearish divergence going on right there. So on the histogram. Now Triple M, same thing. It gets outside of this Kellner channel. It wicked slightly below 180, so I would look for a push under 175 to the 170 to the 174 area, to 172 to 170, and even the 168 area. So it does get to the top of the Kellner channel on the daily right here. Got a little outside, but it comes back and retests the middle. The RCT trend line, which is at 169. So you could definitely see a little bit of a dump to 170 on Triple M if the market's weaker. It's weak in general. I mean, it doesn't always follow SPY, so it seems to have a mind of its own, like Roku. Now QCOM, it's just sitting in this area. It is riding the RCT trend line on the daily. It could possibly come fill this gap, so I love the gap fills. It's got a head and shoulders, you got a left, head, and slightly right. Over under I'd say under 143 for a push to 142 to 141, even the 140 area. Now 140 could hold. If it does manage to get weak and break, it's open air down here. It could easily come fill the gap down to 130 pretty quickly on QCOM. So I would definitely watch that. Disney, now Disney is just has a inside down day, you know, big up inside and it's going down. So usually those inside down days, they end up being more bearish and just more of a directional turn. You can see right here it did the same thing, and right here it did it. It's pretty much, except this candle's green and this one's red. I'll blow it up more. See, that one's green. Pretty much the same thing a little bit for the most part. It's the inside down day. So I would watch underneath 140, I'd say 146 for a push to the 142.50 area to 141. Then it's got a little bit of a gap fill in the 139. Then you get support at 135. I 135 would probably the most extreme, but we'll have to see how bad the if there's a sell-off and how bad it is. And if you watch, there'll be like some kind of like surprise or some perfectly timed news event that will come out. They'll make the market pull back if it pulls back. That's just a big if. Now we finished on that side. Let's go to the bullish side. Now BABA is showing it had a good run, but the thing I got to keep an eye on is that it's like gap resistance right here. It rejected and it came back, which is good because I even said in the room that it's going to reject 280. I mean, it went slightly over and came back, but I don't want it to go down and come back up and go straight through, because it could have, but I'd rather see it stall out at the gap resistance and go sideways like it's going, gear up for another move. So that is what I'm expecting. I mean, at worst case scenarios, I mean, it could pull back to the 270 area before it ramps up and goes for a 290 gap fill. But I would be watching BABA over 280 for a push to 290 and get a gap fill right there, and it could fill this week if market's favorable. So NFLX is another one. NFLX is it's going sideways at the 480, and anytime it gets in this 480 range, it just likes to rage. So I would not be surprised if we end up seeing Netflix go to like 520 again. So I would watch it over 495 for a push to 510, 515, even 520 short term. So but there's a chance, if it market's weak, it could end up dumping quite a bit. And the weekly is it's just very choppy on the weekly, so it's poised to make a big move. So let's just hope that it goes up, but if it doesn't, we'll short it too. So knowing that the way it is on the daily, that will position ourselves to play either side, but definitely looking for it on the long side. Apple, same thing. You get this symmetrical triangle right here, and I think that if it can get over the Friday's highs of the 117.50 area, it'll push to 118, even to 120, even to 121. So if it does manage to break over this 121 and 122 area, I would say the next stop will probably be the 125. Apple is poised to make a breakout, and if it does get over this 121 area, it's probably going to end up really ramping up. So I would definitely watch Apple on that one. Now Lululemon. Now the thing with Lululemon, you get a bearish divergence going on, from here to here, and I would definitely keep an eye on that. But it could also end up going up more because of the shopping Christmas season. So I would ideally like to see it pull back to like the 357 area before wrapping up over 365, but I would be very cautious about taking calls. But it has room to 380, and if it gets to 380, it could probably easily get to 400. So I would be very cautious about playing, because there is a lot of divergences going on. Let's see what the weekly looks like. That one I'm not too confident with, but the weekly's starting to curl up on the MACD. So I mean, maybe it could make a run to 400. We'll have to see. But if we play it, it'll probably be small and cautious. So Baidu is another one. Now I said Baidu was going to make a big run, and it did. I would think that it's probably going to continue. On the daily, yeah, it did. You have gap resistance right here. It kind of blew through it a little bit, so I would definitely look over it over Friday's high, which would be like 140 for push to 142, to watch for 144, 146, then 148. So gap fill is at 142, so could definitely make it to the 147 area if it's got strength behind it. So BABA has been and on the daily, the stochastics is just starting to turn up into positive on the stochastics, and the histogram is going up too. So there is a possibility they keep going to 145 plus on Baidu. Now, next two tickers, Amazon and Shopify, because of Black Friday and because of Cyber Monday, this should benefit them the most. So I would definitely watch Amazon over 3220. I think that if it gets over the 3220, it's probably going to have a strong day. Probably watch it jump to 3300, 3350. It's poised to make one of those big $100 moves like it always does. Right here was let's see. Yeah, this was almost a 150 point move right there in a day. So yeah, that was a big move. Almost 200 points, 330. Yeah. So I wouldn't be surprised if Amazon has a strong day tomorrow or Tuesday. But options are going to be expensive, and I probably won't touch it on a Monday. But if anybody in the room wants it, there you go. Shopify, same thing is probably going to end up happening. It's probably going to end up having a strong move. Chart does look a little better. It is up at the RCT trend line. It likes to break through it, so it could see another strong move on Shopify. If it gets over this right here, what is the high of that? 1045. If it gets over that, it's probably going to push to 1100 or even maybe 1150. So Shopify could definitely make a strong move. And the last one I have is Facebook. Facebook is pretty much looking like Apple. Got a symmetrical triangle going on, and if it gets over this 280 area, that it's going to be making probably a big move to 285 to 290 to even 295. So Facebook is getting ready to make a big pop, assuming the market is bullish still and it doesn't collapse or drop. I would definitely watch Facebook over 280 for a big run this week. So that's going to do it for the watch list, and I hope that this is helping you or helped you. And if you're not in the room is in the description of the video, and you can also see the link in the bio section of Twitter and stuff like that. So that's going to do it. Thank you for watching.